Before the video starts, I just want to say that I'm mostly talking about Classic Sonic and Sonic Forces. I really have nothing against Classic Sonic. He's a pretty cool character, but I'm mostly just talking about Classic Sonic in the context of Sonic Generations and Sonic Forces. It's just really confusing and way too long to talk about how Classic Sonic fits into games like Superstars and the difference between Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic in all those games. So just remember that we're talking about Classic Sonic and Sonic Generations and Sonic Forces only. Anyway, let's get on with the video. Classic Sonic is one of the most iconic Sonic characters now. He's plastered on a lot of promotional material and is seen next to Modern Sonic a lot. This started off Sonic Generations, which was supposed to be a celebration for Sonic. It was here to celebrate Sonic's 20th anniversary, and we got Classic Sonic to be able to revisit Sonic's best 2D stages. But for some reason, Sega decided that Classic Sonic wouldn't just be used in Generations, but also in Forces. And this is where the topic of the video comes in. Classic Sonic just doesn't work in Sonic Forces at all. Sonic Generations was a pretty big success back in 2011. It sold over 1 million copies, which is pretty impressive for a game that isn't Nintendo. But like every single other game, Sonic Generations came and went, and Sega kept releasing new games. We got awesome 3D Sonic games like Sonic Lost World, which released on the Wii U, so you probably know how that went. We also got the Sonic Boom series. Yeah, Sonic was in a pretty rough spot after Generations. I'd say that this was one of the darkest times to be a Sonic fan. And then in 2017, Sega released Sonic Forces. Sonic Forces is a pretty divisive game. 90% of people say that it's terrible, which, not gonna lie, I agree. I'm not really the biggest fan of Forces. I think the game itself is alright, it's not like terrible or anything, but it's really missed potential. It's just way too short. And one of the characters, aside from the original character, which honestly I find to be pretty stupid, is Classic Sonic. Now this is the main problem. Why do Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic have to be in this game? Modern Sonic obviously makes sense, but what's the real reason for Classic Sonic being here? Generations, it made sense. It was a celebration of Sonic, so of course Classic Sonic had to be here. And it is pretty cool seeing Classic Sonic and Modern Sonic interact. But that novelty is pretty much gone, especially since in Forces the writing is pretty bad, so there's basically no chemistry in between the characters. In Sonic Forces, Classic Sonic just shows up and then he leaves. If Sega really needed to put Classic Sonic in this game, which they didn't, they should have at least tried to tie it in a bit more. I'm totally down to see Classic Sonic in another Sonic game. And story-wise, it kinda makes sense why he's here, but the main problem is production and writing-wise. There's 0 point for him to be here when the writing is so bad, and it really makes no sense for him to be here. Also, I'm gonna say this now, the Classic Sonic stages are pretty bad in Sonic Forces. The physics just feel really bad when trying to control him. It's more weird than bad now that I think about it. But again, there's no point for Classic Sonic to be here. Classic Sonic just doesn't add much in terms of story. It would have been perfectly fine if we just had a story without Classic Sonic. The main reason why I feel like he was shoehorned in was for money, which is probably the most obvious answer. Classic Sonic definitely rakes in a lot of nostalgia sales. Because Classic Sonic is a pretty cool character, I like him, and the general consensus online is that he's a pretty cool character. So of course people are gonna go out of their way to buy a game with Classic Sonic in it. And what's an easy way to get the Sonic series sales back on track? Introduce a fan favorite character. Story-wise, like I've said, Classic Sonic just doesn't add anything. The reason why he's here kind of makes sense. It was tied in with Sonic Mania, which I'm not going to go all into that story because I'm just going to enter a rabbit hole. But long story short, it kind of makes sense why Classic Sonic is here. But that doesn't mean he should be here. Because if you're going to add a character to a game and make it do basically nothing, then what's the point? In Sonic Generations, again, it was a celebration of Sonic. So obviously it makes sense that Classic Sonic is there. But in Forces, aside from nostalgia, what else does Classic Sonic really offer? The 2D stages are mid at best, and they could have just used Modern Sonic for him. I feel like most people wouldn't have a problem with Classic Sonic if his gameplay was actually fun. In Sonic Generations, his physics felt great, and his stages were really fun. But in Sonic Forces, like most of the game, it just feels uninspired, and the controls and physics are pretty bad. Which again, most people I feel like wouldn't have a problem with Classic Sonic if he just played well and actually added stuff to the story. It's very obvious that he feels shoehorned in here, and was put in just to rack some nostalgia sales. And Forces didn't sell terribly, so I guess it worked. But we just got a really bad game. Now in the future, I feel like Sega could use Classic Sonic. I don't feel like it's a character that should just be for anniversaries, but I also think he shouldn't be in every single Sonic game. Classic Sonic being a standalone character like modern Sonic for games like Sonic Superstars is fine in my opinion, although it does get a little iffy whether it's Classic Sonic or modern Sonic, but I'm not going into that. But if they were to make modern Sonic and Classic Sonic appear again in the same game, please Sega, I beg of you, just make it have a coherent story. Again, Sonic Generations did this perfectly. If you're gonna bring back a fan favorite character like this, especially when they're the same character as another one, such as modern and Classic Sonic, at least make the story coherent. That's all I'm asking. Then it makes sense and people wouldn't really complain that they bring back Classic Sonic. The main issue in Forces, again, is that Classic Sonic didn't add anything to the story and his stages were pretty bad. That's the reason why people didn't like Classic Sonic in Forces, and it left a sour taste in people's mouth. Hopefully Sega manages to use Classic Sonic in a unique way in the future, and not just shoehorn him into different games just because. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to like and subscribe. Comment if you think Classic Sonic was a good addition in Sonic Forces, and become a channel member if you want to help support the channel. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.